When you see this logo, you know it's going to be a good one. For around 7 years now, A24 has been distributing films and television that have been taking the world by storm. The independent company has amassed around 25 Academy Award nominations, as well as countless recognition and critical acclaim for their films, which celebrate movies from a distinctive point of view. For anyone new to this world, it can be a little intimidating. A24 has around 100 films ranging from the most harrowing horror, thought-provoking documentaries, and heartbreaking coming-of-age. Their diverse catalog is what makes them so special, but understandably, it can be a little hard to navigate at first. So in order to help you out, I've taken the top 10 most popular A24 films, according to Letterboxd.com, and ranking them in order of my personal preference. These are the films with the most critical acclaim, as well as the ones that everyone on Twitter just seems to never shut up about. All of these films are available on streaming services, so you can begin watching in the comfort of your own homes, because what else are you gonna do during this time? Also, just a quick disclaimer before we start. A24 has so many unique films that there is one that you're bound to connect to, but because of that, what I find meaningful may not hit you as hard, so these are just my opinions. They're based on my own life experiences and my personal preference, so please keep that in mind as the list goes on. I think every single one of these films I'm about to mention are incredible, so you should definitely check out all of them. And with that out of the way, here's number 10. Yorgos Lanthimos is one of the most inventive directors working today, and The Lobster is definitely a showcase of his unique storytelling and vision. While it's not my favorite of his films, this one means so much to a lot of people. The film follows a man who checks into a hotel following his divorce, where the end goal of his stay is to find a romantic partner for life. If he fails to do so in a set number of days, he will be turned into an animal. Now this film is quirky, it's stylish, it's fun, it's surprisingly thought-provoking, and I totally recommend it to anyone who is looking for something a little bit different. You can find The Lobster on Netflix. Does this count as an unpopular opinion? It might. The Lighthouse is an acquired taste. I understand the people that would die for this film, but it personally just isn't my style. If you're into weird horror, and I mean weird horror, then this might just be your new favorite movie. The Lighthouse is about two men who are stranded on a remote New England island and are tasked with caring for the titular lighthouse. Naturally, things start to go off the rails when cabin fever and paranoia set in. This film features knockout performances from Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, who, by the way, was completely robbed this past awards season. I can make an entire video talking about how Willem Dafoe just constantly gets snubbed, but that's for another time. This film is already on its way to becoming a cult classic, so get on Amazon Prime and form your own opinions about this insane film. Confession, I could have made this video a long time ago, but I couldn't until about last week, which is when I saw this film for the first time. I know, it's really disgraceful, considering that this is one of A24's most famous films from an award standpoint. Science fiction tends to be a hit or miss for me, which I will discuss more in a future video, but thankfully this one was a hit. Ex Machina, it's about a programmer who is invited to his reclusive employer's estate to help him test his new AI's capabilities and consciousness. It's a film that wastes no time getting you to the action, with an ending that is simultaneously heartbreaking and liberating. The set design and effects are also incredible, so as well as being a good story, this is just a great film to look at. You can catch this on Netflix the next time you're feeling like questioning your existence and the morality of artificial intelligence and other normal Tuesday night things. Wait, this isn't a comedy? Quite the opposite, actually. The Safdie brothers are no strangers to films that are about equivalent to shooting adrenaline straight into your bloodstream, but Uncut Gems just takes it to the next level. It's tense, it's claustrophobic, and it never, ever, ever lets go. Adam Sandler is incredible as a New York City jeweler who makes a series of high-stakes bets until everything is on the line. I will never forget watching this in the theater and the collective gasp let out during the last scene. If you're a fan of the brothers' previous film Good Time, or if you're just looking for some good old stressful excitement, Uncut Gems will be available on Netflix US on May 25th. I love horror. It's my favorite genre, and most people are taken by surprise when they find out that only one horror film, besides Coraline, has ever terrified me to the point of nightmares. Yep, this is it. I can't even explain it to you. It's not even objectively the scariest film on this list, but there's just something about The Witch that just shakes me down to my very core. This film is about a New England family who start their life on their own farm after being banished from their colony, only to find that there is, you guessed it, a witch in the neighboring wood. I think this film is a perfect demonstration of paranoia and how suspicion can shake even the strongest of families. It's less about the witch in the wood and more about how quickly a family can unravel and turn on each other during a tragedy. And that, to me, is one of the scariest things in the entire world. Watch this one on Netflix with the lights out, and I dare you to tell me that you don't have chills. So you're probably thinking at this point, well, I'm not really into any of this. I'm not into weird comedy or horror or Adam Sandler getting the absolute shit beat out of him. So for those looking for something a little more digestible, I present to you The Florida Project. This film follows a summer in the life of a child who lives with her mother in a Florida motel right outside of Disney World. And I have to say it, out of every single film on this list, this is the most human in terms of the story it tells. It showcases a living situation that isn't shown enough on screen, and is probably one of the best portrayals of childhood that I've ever seen in a film. This film also features a criminally underrated performance by Willem Dafoe, who's truly Willem Dafoe in this. And I've said it before in this video, and I'll say it again, Willem Dafoe deserves better. I definitely cried for a very long time after finishing this, but I promise you it's worth turning on Netflix right now to witness this beautiful little film. If you haven't seen Moonlight but you've heard of it, you either A, have been paying attention to all those end of decade lists and saw it come out on top repeatedly, or B, were watching the Oscars that one fateful night. It's really unfortunate that this is the way that most people will remember Moonlight, because it's one of the most beautiful and personal stories ever told on film. Moonlight is the story of a young black man's life from childhood to adulthood. It's all about identity, love, and personal connections, and it's one of the most compassionate movies I've ever seen. You really get to see a side of life that isn't shown enough on the screen, and I consider it essential viewing for anyone getting into film or just everyone in general. This film is on Netflix, so there's no excuse. Watch it tonight if you can. I love horror. I love it so much. It's hands down my favorite genre, so when somebody does it right, I will never shut up about it. In case you didn't have Twitter last summer and you have no clue what this movie is, Midsommar is about a young American couple who are on the brink of breaking up. However, when tragedy forces them to stay together, they join their friends on a trip to Sweden to a Midsommar festival. I might sound absolutely crazy when I say this, but I do consider this to be a feel-good movie. Anyone that's seen it knows what I'm talking about. This has one of the most satisfying endings of all time. I also think that this film redefines horror in terms of what makes things scary. It isn't the first horror film to take place almost entirely in the daylight, but it sure is one of the most effective. And this is also such another lukewarm take, but Florence Pugh deserved every single award for this role, and I'm glad she was recognized in Little Women, but she definitely deserves this one too, if not more. This amazing film is available on Amazon Prime, and be sure to carve out time to watch it again and again. Hereditary is one of those movies that never leaves you. If Midsommar was feel-good, Hereditary is the exact opposite. It's gripping, depressing, claustrophobic, and above all, it's terrifying. I want to do my own separate video essay for Hereditary, so I'll keep this brief. As spoiler-free as possible, Hereditary is about a family who learns more and more terrifying secrets about their past after tragedy strikes, and I'm so sorry for giving the vaguest synopsis possible, but you truly need it. I'll touch more on this in a future video, but to me, there's nothing more terrifying than the inevitable. I think the least effective horror movies are the ones where there's something to fight. Slasher films are fun, but they aren't necessarily scary to me. Hereditary is a film where there's no one to root for and no one to root against. You're just a helpless viewer watching an unpreventable horror come over this family. And if this sounds like something you'd actually enjoy your time watching, Hereditary is available on Amazon Prime. We made it to our #1 spot, and if you have any basic knowledge of A24 or of just me as a person, you already know what it is. Again, I'd like to stress that my own life has heavily influenced this choice, so what's good to me may be different than what's good to you. Ready? I've spent many long hours thinking about this film and everything that it means to me, and I can't even possibly fit it into one video, let alone a small segment of one. It's one of those movies that resonates so deeply with me that on my first viewing I was in constant tears for the last 20 minutes. Lady Bird is the story of a teenage girl navigating her last year of high school as well as her rocky relationship with her mother. It's a typical coming-of-age film, except it's also kind of not. Lady Bird is a love letter to all of the girls who felt too big for their small towns, who don't necessarily understand the world but want desperately to be a part of it. It's a love letter to youth and self-discovery, as well as an honest look at mother-daughter relationships and how they define us. It's about growing up, obviously, it's coming of age, but it's also just a big celebration of life, home, and family. Lady Bird is available on Amazon Prime if this sounds like something you're interested in. Trust me, it's worth it. So there you go. The most popular A24 movies sorted by my personal preference. What's your favorite A24 film? And what A24 films did you like that didn't make the list? I personally loved The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and I was very sad that I didn't get to talk about it. And I was very happy Climax did not make the list because I did not want to watch any of that footage ever again. I really hope you enjoyed this video. This is my first video essay ever, and I hope to only improve in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and do something nice today.